Zebel, that's in English, is Zvul, which means in Ugaritic, prince. In essence, exalted. They did this for the other gods as well. In the Book of Kings, we come in contact with a princess by the name of Jezebel. She was a Baal worshipper extraordinaire and a Phoenician, and was very much against the Hebrew God. Her name in Hebrew is Isabel. Notice that the last three letters of her name, Zevel, in the Ugaritic means prince. Her entire name means where is the prince. Her father's name was Baal. He is literally named after Baal. His son's name is Baal Esev. As you see, Baal is embedded in all the names, and Jezebel is also in honor of him. Baal the prince. It ran in their family. 4. And here's the kicker. The evidence to further bolster the claim that Zevul is the correct word. In the New Testament, they use Zevul or Zebul suffix when referring to Beelzebub, Baal or Baal Zevul. As with the previous point in which he is called a prince in Ugaritic, in Matthew chapter 12 verse 24 it states that Beelzebul is prince of the demons. So that just makes the argument that Zevul is a more likely term for his name. That is his name, Baal Zevul. It is also interesting to note that the New Testament, which is usually in alignment with the Septuagint, breaks from this notion that it means fly. I will get into the New Testament usage a bit later. Taking all the above into account, it makes sense that it is a distortion of Zevul. The evidence is clearly weighted in that direction, and when you look through time, the Zevul appears more prominently in nearly all texts. I could leave.
And it's not to depart that the Jezebel spirit, he never said that it doesn't exist or it's not. He's explaining the doctrine form. He's giving detail of the, now he's getting detail of the witch hex and the order of the name and the titlement, and that's the sealing inside the people's brain.
Leave it there, but I also wanted to illustrate that the Israelites did in fact distort names of people when they wanted to insult them. Interestingly enough, they do this to two people that actually have the name Baal in their name. It's no coincidence that they do this to their names, and further bolsters why the use of Zvuv, or flies, as opposed to Zevul, was a distortion and an insult. In my book, Baal, King of the Heavens, I mentioned two individuals that had the name Baal as a suffix to their name. Saul's son was named Ishbaal, or man of the Lord. 1 Chronicles chapter 8 verse 33 it says, Ner begot Kish, and Kish begot Saul, and Saul begot Jonathan, and Malchishua, and Abinadab, and Ishbaal. The second example, Jonathan's son bore the name of Meriv-Baal, or the Lord contends, or fights. That's 1 Chronicles chapter 8 verse 34. And the son of Jonathan was Meriv-Baal, and Meriv-Baal begot Micha.
Alright, sorry guys, I'm resuming. I'm going to rewind it back because I missed a little bit of it.
Biblical passage I presented in the last chapter, we see that King Ahaziah falls and is injured. He requests that Beelzebub should be called upon. It doesn't make sense that he would call Baal the fly repeller for assistance, but rather the exalted Baal, Baal Zevul, for divinatory purposes. Doesn't that make more sense? 2. In the Ugaritic texts, where we have most of the references to Baal outside of the Bible, often state this when mentioning the god Baal, Baal Zvul. You see, Zebel, that's in English, is Zvul, which means in Ugaritic, prince. In essence, exalted. They did this for the other gods as well. In the Book of Kings, we come in contact with a princess by the name of Jezebel. She was a Baal worshipper extraordinaire and a Phoenician, and was very much against the Hebrew God. Her name in Hebrew is Isabel. Notice that the last three letters of her name, Zevel, in the Ugaritic means prince. Her entire name means where is the prince. Her father's name was Baal. He is literally named after Baal. His son's name is Baal Esev. As you see, Baal is embedded in all the names, and Jezebel is also in honor of him. Baal the prince. It ran in their family. 4. And here's the kicker, the evidence to further bolster the claim that Zevul is the correct word. In the New Testament, they use Zevul or Zebul.
It sounds like it's saying that her father was of it, or a line, or it could have been her mother. It was a curse there. And it could have been in her husband, father, or her. Basically, it's a curse there. A Baal.
Suffix when referring to Beelzebub.
I mean, curses are sins. Alright? Remember, curse is just a sin. A plague with a sin. In all our family tree and all these things, even the Israelites are cursed with things. Okay? That's the witch's curse.
Or Baal Zevul. As with the previous point in which he is called a prince in Ugaritic, in Matthew chapter 12 verse 24 it states that Beelzebul is prince of the demons. So that just makes the argument that Zevul is a more likely term for his name. That is his name, Baal Zevul. It is also interesting to note that the New Testament, which is usually in alignment with the Septuagint, breaks from this notion that it means fly. I will get into the New Testament usage a bit later. Taking all the above into account, it makes sense that it is a distortion of Zevul. The evidence is clearly weighted in that direction, and when you look through time, the Zevul appears more prominently in nearly all texts. I could leave it there, but I also wanted to illustrate that the Israelites did in fact distort names of people when they wanted to insult them. Interestingly enough, they do this to two people that actually have the name Baal in their name. It's no coincidence that they do this to their names, and further bolsters why the use of Zvuv, or flies, as opposed to Zevul, was a distortion and an insult. In my book, Baal, King of the Heavens, I mentioned two individuals that had the name Baal as a suffix to their name. Saul's son was named Ishbaal, or man of the Lord. 1 Chronicles chapter 8 verse 33 it says, Ner begot Kish, and Kish begot Saul, and Saul begot Jonathan, and Malchishua, and Abinadab, and Ishbaal. The second example, Jonathan's son bore the name of Meriv-Baal, or the Lord contends, or fights. That's 1 Chronicles chapter 8 verse 34. And the son of Jonathan was Meriv-Baal, and Meriv-Baal begot Micha. The reason why I mentioned this is because in 2 Samuel, those same names that had Baal now have them removed, and the word they replace for Baal is Boshet, which means shame. Here, let's take a look. 2 Samuel chapter 2 verse 8. Now Avner, the son of Ner, captains of Saul's host, had taken Ish-Boshet, the son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim. Wait, I thought Saul's son was named Ishbaal, but here his name is Ish-Boshet, which means man of shame. Now let's look at 2 Samuel chapter 4 verse 4. Now Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son that was lame of his feet. He was 5 years old when the tidings came of Saul and Jonathan out of Jezreel, and his nurse took him up and fled. And it came to pass, as she made haste to flee, that he fell and became lame, and his name was Mephi-Boshet. In the previous verse, Jonathan's son was Meriv-Baal. Now his name is Mephi-Boshet, which means out of my mouth is shame. I find this change rather suspicious, don't you? Why the word shame? It was due to two reasons. One, the names were clearly Baal-centric. And two, it was to degrade those two people.
Yeah, and it's also, like I said, the English tongue is like Baal. It's bullcrap. We spit out this stuff with our tongues, and we don't even know what we're talking about. You know, the custom words are bull and shit and all that. Now you seeing with this tongue?
Insult them by removing the Baal name, which was clearly reference to Baal but also can mean Lord. They changed it to Boshet, which is shame. So they did the same thing with Beelzebub. They added the Zebub or Zevuv to Baal to shame him, saying, oh, you're just Lord of the Flies. But His real name is Baal Zevul, or the Exalted Lord. As you can see, there is precedence for the Zevul usage, and it appears it was apparently not the first time they did this when the name of Baal was used, as you just saw. However, despite the above, I will still refer to him as Beelzebub or Baal-Zvuv throughout the text for consistency purposes only. And, well, Lord of the Flies just sounds so much cooler than the milquetoast Exalted Lord, doesn't it? In summary, the Old Testament simply acknowledges him as an aspect of the god Baal. His demonization comes later in time. However, for consistency purposes, I will be referring to him as a demon, even if I don't personally feel he is one in the true sense of the word. There you have it, my friends, 2 fairly academic chapters from my upcoming book, Beelzebub, A History, which is in pre-release on Amazon. As you can see, it's actually quite a complex text, but I do hope that you enjoyed this, and I know it's a little controversial, but in reality, it really shouldn't change how we view Beelzebub in the sense.
Morning, brothers and sisters.
Alright, now I'm going to play a Gentile. We just heard another Gentile. Let the brother go first. And her view on Satan's origin and things like that of her studies, which both of them spoke a lot of truth in some of the things, but he just detailed it because, man kind of decode knowledge and tell it, but, some have a bias and they don't weigh it, the knowledge accordingly. Women can do that too as well, but for them to give the understanding, they give it in their way. So it's just a difference of opinion, but we'll see exactly what.
Back for another video. Today's topic is going to be on the origins of Satan, and the way that we're going to discover who Satan might be, and that's up for you to decide. Okay? Is that we're going to follow out the words that's provided and some scriptures that fill in some of the detail that actually describes is a good accurate description of these verses that have been provided for us. But the problem is when you read one way over here in this book and you go 10 books and you read another one here, your mind just don't put them together. Alright? And that's the design of it too. So, here we go. The origins of Satan. Alright, let's go to, we're going to use 2 verses here, to begin with. Alright, now I have everything pulled up. Give me a moment here till I get to what I need to find. Alright, because I have like 14 passages pulled up here. And okay, that's not it. I'm coming up on it. And I have it minimized, so it makes it a lot more difficult for me to see. Okay, so our passage, one of our passages is found in Isaiah 48, verse 8. Okay, so this is what it says. Now, I'm going to scroll down so we get the King James on it. Right? So bear with me on this, okay? So here we go. The King James of Isaiah 48, verse 8 says this. It says, Yea, thou heardest not, yea, thou knewest not, yea, from that time that thine ear was not open, that means an uncircumcised ear. The Bible refers to the uncircumcised ear. Means you're not hearing you're not listening to God. For I knew that thou wouldest deal very treacherously. Let's write that word down. We'll keep that in our brain. Alright? Treacherously. And was called a transgressor. Let's write that word down. So here we have treacherously and transgressor in the same verse. So, and was called a transgressor from the womb. So let's read it again. Yea, thou heardest not, yea, thou knewest not, yea, from that the time that thine ear was not open, for I knew that thou wouldest deal very treacherously, and was called a
So basically saying, they said, you know, with the biblical text we got with the mistranslated Bible, basically she's saying, this is the woman we all seeing, right? So basically saying, from the womb of my belly that I birthed children. You know, then you got to think about the heavenly sense of her manifesting through her creation. And it's like, I knew y'all. And I also know the foresight. I'm also the living of all. Mother living. So basically, I already knew who was going to be of mine and who wasn't going to be of mine. But before y'all came in this world, y'all had uncircumcised ears. And I birthed y'all. That means child don't know nothing about no doctrines, no things, no knowledge, or none of that type of stuff, or books or anything. Able to start, you know, when they only have their senses, you know what I'm saying, what they feeling on the outer world, in the world, but they haven't grown a tongue to be able to talk, so they're just analyzing everything. They quiet, and that's why they said, as you be humble as children, go back to that state, being observant, looking. But everybody has been caught on the tongue where they want to hear everything out the tongue, so shall they eat of it. Because sometimes you can observe and be more of a listener, allow other people to, you know, talk and do things. So a person that talks too much or do different things is not really good. But basically, you know, children don't come out with the tongue and just talking there, you know. And it also giving a heaven of what she knew the men were going to do to her daughters, and they knew what was going to happen, you know, foresight before they were birthed into the
from the womb. Now, where else do we get those two words combined? Well, this is where we're going to find them. We're going to find them in Hosea chapter 6 verse 7, and this is what it says. But they, like men, or Adam is what it really should render, in my opinion. But they, like Adam, have transgressed. There we go with transgressed. The covenant, that's the marriage covenant that he transgressed. There have they dealt treacherously against me. And that word treacherously, when you get understanding its full meaning, it means unfaithfully. Alright, so we have those two verses in view, and if you want to go in and write them down for future references with all these other words that we're going to combine and show you, okay, they were found in Isaiah 48 verse 8, alright, and Hosea 6 verse 7. Alright, and you can go in and you can compare those verses. Now, what are we going to look at next? Watch what it says of the Spirit. Now understand, we've been looking at many passages with the understanding that the Spirit, the righteous Spirit's overview is over the physical. Alright, so you have the physical, and then you have the spiritual overlaid, which is, you got your physical male, and then you have your spirit overlaid over that, which is your feminine in this case, right? In all cases, most generally, your spirit is your feminine, and your physical is your masculine, all right? Now, here is what she, the Spirit, says, overlaid, upon what David is supposedly saying here. This is what the Spirit says in Psalm 35, all right? And we're going to go to, I got to check my references and make sure I get them right. Verses, we're going to start, let me see. We'll start in 11, okay? So, Psalm 35, verse 11, this is what she says, all right? Malicious witnesses rise up. They ask me of things that I do not know. Verse 12. They repay me evil for good to the bereavement of my soul. But as for me, when they were sick, my clothing was sackcloth. I humbled my soul with fasting.
Exactly. So, meaning, when you got people coming in the spirit of I know everything, this is, I read this book, is this, they're coming in the spirit of trying to judge you and asking you what this is, definition. Oh, you don't know something that you say out your mouth for truth, and you don't know how you know it, because like we know that the Most High them give their children gifts. We don't have to, everything we don't have to go into, but yet we go into for confirmation, and we study to show ourselves approved, because we have to be humble servants as well, because we don't know everything. But when you got people offended, they'll try to come with things that, you know, making you ask, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Is this, is that? And want to have that argumentative spirit, you know, or division, and trying to get you to say things and all that. And, you know, sometimes, like it says, even a fool that closes his mouth is considered wise. Basically.
And my prayer kept returning to my bosom. I went about as though it were my friend or brother. You see what she's saying here? Pay attention. I bowed down mourning as one who sorrows. It says, for a mother? I don't think she was weeping for her mother at this point.
No.
Although she could have been, because mother was rejected by the son. By rejecting the righteous spirit represented by the wife of his youth that was given in covenant. But it says, as one who sorrows for a brother, for what her brother did to her. Okay, now we have those two verses, and we have this one with a spiritual overview, all right, of how she was accused wrongfully. She says, they lay charges against me and have witnesses to witness against it, and I don't even know what they're talking about. So this is the righteous spirit talking. Now, let's go to the word. Let me see which one we're going to pull up first. Let's pull up devil. All right? And that's going to be your Greek word. Let me see here. I think it was the last one I pulled up, so let's go there. It wasn't the last one I pulled up. The one before the last. No, it wasn't. I'm wrong. Okay. So our word is, well, do I have it pulled up? I do this every time. You folks know this about me, don't you? Who's watched my videos. Do I even have it pulled up? Well. Okay. Yeah, I do have it pulled up. So it's Greek number 1228 is your word for devil, all right, in your New Testament. So if you want to pull up Strong's Greek number 228, okay, 1228. And what does it say? It means diabolos, all right, slanderous, accusing falsely. You following the thought here yet? Okay, we're going to keep going on here. There's more. A lot more. Used often as a noun, slanderous, with the article, the slanderer, par excellence, the devil. Okay? So we'll go down. We'll read in the notes here. I'm on Bible Hub for anybody who's interested. And it says this, and it keeps doing that on me. To slander, it's from 1225. Means to slander, accuse, defame. Now let's write that word down, defame, because we're going to find that in a curious place too. Defame. Okay. Properly, a slanderer, a false accuser. So the Spirit says in Psalm 35, they laid to my charge accusations that I know nothing about. Unjustly criticizing to hurt and condemn and to sever a relationship. 1228 is the root of the English word devil. It means a backbiter, an accuser, a slanderer. Is literally someone who casts through, i.e. or making charges that brings down and destroys something. Satan is used by God in this plan. Alright, Let's keep going down here and see what else we find out in the notes here. A false accuser, prone to slander, accuse. I don't know if it was this one. Let me see here. If it was this one, because I don't want to miss this. Okay, so it wasn't this particular word, I don't think. But here we'll go down. False accuser, devil, slanderer. A transducer, specifically or specially Satan, and it also says compare Satan. False accuser, devil, slanderer. Okay, Satan. We get the idea, don't we? He accused. Alright. Then we have Adam, who transgressed the covenant, right? Who dealt treacherously, unfaithfully, right? With her there. Her. And we're going to go now to this word. Alright? Let's go to the word. Oh wait, before I tell you it, I want to pull it up. Let's go to the word. Can anybody guess where I might be going? Oh, this is a pain, because I could see them up top if I wasn't working in this way. But I have to work this way. Where is it? Of course. Okay, we're going to go to Greek number 954. And the word is Beelzebul. Okay? Keep that in mind. Beelzebul. A name of Satan. Alright, what did we just read of Satan? He was the accuser. A name of Satan, Beelzebub. The chief of evil spirits. Let's scroll down here and see what else it says. That's quite curious. Alright? It says, it's transliterated from the Old Testament. Alright? And it means Baal, Z-Bub, the Lord of Flies, which is what we've looked at. Beelzebub, a title of Satan, which stresses he is the prince over the demons, the demonic flies. Well, now, in one of my videos, I had said he was referred to as the Lord of Flies, and the illusion was that he was a pile of dung that his servants flew around, right? He's a pile of dung. But this is one of the names that Satan goes by, the false accuser goes by, was Beelzebub, alright? And it meant Lord of Flies, Baal. That's what it meant, Baal. Now, Beelzebub, a name of Satan. Let's keep scrolling down here and see what we find. Okay. So if you want to look that name up, go for it. Dung God, Baal Zebub. The dung god, a name of Satan. Alright. So what does Baal mean again? What does Baal mean again? We did this in our studies. We discovered that Baal in Old Hebrew, the Hebrew language, is Strong's Hebrew number 1167. Baal. Okay. So we know Baal is derived from Baal, 1168, which is this god, this Lord of the Flies. Okay? So that number for the Lord of the Flies in Old Hebrew is 1168. Strong's Hebrew number is 1168. Backtrack one to 1167. And it means owner, lord, archers, bridegroom, captain, dominant, master, owner, relative by marriage even. It means your husband. It means your husband. And what did we discover about our husbands in passages such as Genesis 49, verses 22 to 24, As the rightful rulers, these daughters of Zion, representing the righteous covenant with Adam, that these archers shot at. The word for archers there is Baal, your husband, who wanted to rule over you as your Lord and Master, which just so happens takes us back to Adam and what he did to his wife, representing the righteous spirit given in covenant. What did he do? He accused. That's what he did. He accused his wife. And she says he lays accusations to my charge, and he brings false witnesses against me, and I know nothing about it. He dealt treacherously, unfaithfully with her, and he transgressed the covenant. And he is called Satan by another name, Baal, your husband who wanted to rule over you, who accuses us daily in the courts of heaven. Now, put all that together, all right? You can say, oh, she's crazy. But let's look at that word again, devil, 12:28. And it says to defame, right? Likes to defame. Now, I didn't pull this one up, so I'm not going to bother because I got so many pulled up. We're going to do it in the Bible. So we're going to go to what it says, if I can find it. In Zephaniah, is our chapter that we want to look at. Chapter 3, verse, well actually let's start in chapter 3, verse 19, verse 18, let's start at. I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly, who are of thee, to whom the reproach of it was a burden. Now these are the daughters of Zion that we've been talking about, that were rejected out of their rightful place as the righteous ruler of the body, representing the righteous spirit given in covenant by Mother God to teach man the way of heaven. Behold, at that time I will undo all that afflict thee, and I will save her that halteth, and gather her that was driven out, and I will give them praise and fame. Wow! Fame in every land where they have been put to shame. At that time will I bring you again, even in the time that I gather you. That's the Asaph, the Psalms of Asaph. Asaph is your gatherer. That's a representation of the Spirit that gathers. For I will make you a name and a praise among all people of the earth when I turn back. So that means she's going to return back to Mother. That's what it means. That's why it says return, return, O Shulamite. Turn back your captivity before your eyes, saith the Lord. All right. So he defames. That's according to the word devil. 12:28. He defamed. He accused. All right. And here she says, I'll get you fame from all the lands whither you were driven from. All right. And that's your husband. These wicked men. We're not talking about righteous sons who are going to understand this truth when they hit on it, and perhaps always had questions themselves of where their wife truly fit into the picture. Maybe they had these questions too. All right? So we're not talking about these wicked sons that point at their wives and loves to accuse and debase and defame and say, oh, that woman, that woman, that woman. And I've heard it my whole life. And even coming from the pulpit, they try to be subtle, but, oh, puff, puff to the man. Because he wanted to exalt himself as a God in the earth. Now, we're going to go to another verse and see what that says. Okay. But why was this permitted for so long to go on? Right? Because I would buy into it. I bought into it my whole life, this theology. But deep in my heart, there was this lingering question of who I was in God. And it just felt so unjust and so unfair week after week. I would just almost cringe just waiting for him to throw the woman in there who was to blame for it all. I was just waiting for that accusation. And it just got so it was really, quite a difficult pill. And yes, we have blame, we share blame, but according to the very beginning, her seed was set apart because she did not violate her covenant. He did. He was the one that dealt treacherously and fell in covenant with the harlot spirit. And we're told that he did. That he chose a covenant with the harlot, where an Old Testament law becomes written to subjugate righteous daughters and sons as well. But more so, it's the daughters. And that this whole world is founded upon a false theology that teaches that women are under men, and they are not. He cut the cords. It says he will cut off the bondage, the bonds, the bands. Well, that was the cord to Mother, representing Mother God. And when he accused his wife, which was Eve, the righteous spirit given in covenant to teaching the laws of heaven, and he accused her. He became an accuser, and then he began to build himself up under the law. He took control of that law. We're told it in the scriptures that the Levites had full control of the law. They took it under them and began to write violence in that law against their sisters, so they could continue to suppress and build themselves up, because they began to put more emphasis on the physical as opposed to the spiritual, and began to say, well, that's God. But in Isaiah 59, this is what it says. Isaiah 59 verse 4, it says, none calleth for justice, nor any pleadeth for the truth. They trust in vanity, and they speak lies. They conceive mischief, and they bring forth iniquity. Well, after this accusation took forth, and we talked about the vision of confusion that is referenced in Isaiah 22, all right, and how these daughters were being cast down at this time. They were being rejected by the men and the women as well, and they were just being rejected as the rulers that would keep you safe, because they represented the spirit given in covenant to man, to teach him and to protect him and to give him eternal life. That's what these daughters did. That's why they're referenced again in Romans 11. It says, if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? All right? So they're gonna manifest again out in the fields of the Gentiles. We're told this. We've been through all of this detail, so I'm not going to go through it again. But here we're told none of us asked for justice, and none of us pleaded for the truth. Well, when I look back in hindsight what I did in 2013, that's exactly what I was asking for. I'm like, I remember I felt very wounded, and I've carried that wounding my whole life. And but I remember just getting down on my knees and crying and saying, well, why did you even bother with us? If all I'm ever going to be is to be blamed for it and to be a doormat and to be less, and I felt all these woundings I'd heard my whole life, and these accusations that had been pointed at me my whole life. And I just said, what does that make me in you? I want you to show me who I am. I want you to show me the truth. I don't want it from no man off of no pulpit. I want it from you. And I believe at that time, and there's probably many sisters that could attest that probably at that same time they were doing the same thing. They were down on their knees and they were pleading for truth. They were asking for justice. And I didn't realize it, but that's exactly what I was asking. And she says, only when my daughters begin to turn back to me, or I guess at a time she turns us back to her, and causes us to ask these questions in our spirit, because of that great wounding that we've sustained our entire lives, she says, these are the ones that's going to ask the questions when I begin to work with them. And so that's what she's been doing with daughters like myself, all right? We called for justice, and we asked for the truth. And we're no longer conceiving mischief and bringing forth iniquity. That's what the end result of this question is. This calling. That's what the end result is, that we are going to obtain what we sought for, which is the truth, which is going to birth our children. All right? That's alluded to in Romans 11. Israel has obtained that which she seeketh for. And Israel is the firstborn of mother. Now, that's a daughter. They have argued and said, well, Judah's the firstborn. No, Judah was not the firstborn. He may have been the firstborn son, but he's not what mother calls her firstborn. She says, Israel, and then she comes right out and she says, Ephraim is my firstborn. Right? Israel represented the woman's seed, Eve. And it was the only nation on earth that was set apart, all right, that represented her seed. And the surrounding nations came to be known as the Adamic nations because they were being taught the fallen theology of Baal, of the devil, of Satan, of Beelzebub. Yeah? And what does Christ say? What does Christ say in he says it in Luke 10 verse 18. I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. That's a casting down of the lies of the law that was exalted in Israel when the men rejected the covenant with these daughters of Zion. And the men of Judah did too. And cast them down. And then perpetuated a covenant with these daughters from the surrounding Adamic nation that did not have truth in their mouth. And that's what became exalted in what we call physical Israel today. And that fed out to the four corners of the globe. And it has subjected us to his lies, to his violence, and has stolen our rightful place in this world. They've stolen our riches. You'll often hear men say, well, she only wants me for my money. Well, you made it that way. You took her riches from her and built yourself up with them. You stole from her so you could make her your harlot. That's what you did. You took her rights.
And I'm so glad someone having bringing out the understanding behind that, because most people don't see that when they talk. And they'll just say, oh, every woman's the same. Every woman is a whore. I done heard men tell me that, oh, any hoe is replaceable. Any girl is replaceable. Everybody's just the same. And I'm thinking in my head, if you believe every woman is the same, okay, yeah, I done heard some things. But, you know, and every woman want provision or they want money, they want to do that. No, that's the harlotry lifestyle, idolatry, paper money, whoring their body out, doing all types of things for the men, for that position, or wanted to be somebody. That's a harlot lifestyle. That's a harlot spirit. But righteous sisters or whatever, like Mother Wisdom says, for her daughters are freely given for a man that fear the Most High. It ain't about money and riches or what she'll send to you of a wife to, that you find a good thing. But going off of these theologies, and now I can see why they was just running around denying women and doing all this crazy stuff, because you got to understand what is the doctrine that they're sealed with in their heads of the beast.
Away from her under the law, so you could starve her out and force her into the things that you wanted to. That's what fallen law is. And that's what Baal, our husband, began to do. And it says, these archers, your Baal, your husbands, shot at these daughters of Zion. But it says her covenant, her bow, a bow in strength. She never gave up on him. She says, we're going to turn him back, because my daughters are going to turn back to me. That's what's going to happen here. And the daughter of Babylon is going to be cast down, because there is no throne for her. There never was. But he exalted her because by exalting her, it meant he got to exalt himself and write the law the way he wanted to. Instead of receiving the laws of the righteous daughters that were given covenant. And he becomes known as the accuser in the heavens. Satan, Beelzebub, because he accused his wife, who was given in covenant, representing the righteous spirit from heaven, to teach you the laws of heaven. And what falls? Satan falls. Like lightning. It means the law collapses. The earth is purified by the fire of heaven. The law of heaven is purified by that. It's renewed by that. And so in Habakkuk 1:4, therefore the law is slack, and judgment doth never go forth. For the wicked doth compass about the righteous. Therefore wrong judgments proceedeth. Well, if our law don't cause that, I don't know what it's doing. And that law stems originally from what they call today the Torah, the Mosaic laws. Well, Moses is going to come on scene, or at the very least his spirit is going to come on scene, and he's going to testify that those were not the laws that God gave him. Those were man-made. And why do you think the Antichrist is going to step on scene and try to put them back in play firmly? So your Baal can roll over you. So you will bow down to your Baal. You know what this symbol means? If you're a woman and you're doing this, if you're a man and you're doing this, you know what this means for a woman? I'm a slut and I'll do whatever he tells me to do. That's what that means. You don't want to hear it. That's precisely what it means. I'm going to play his harlot. Yeah, and I'm going to be proud and brag about it. And if a man's doing this, he's saying, I'm God. And you're going to all bow to me. That's what that means. That's why you see all the stars doing it. Because they're all after power. The key of Solomon, not the key of David. They're after the key of Solomon. And how many people follows behind it blindly? Because, well, it's hip, it's cool to do it. It's just, it's amazing. And you see it everywhere. And so we've found the origins. We have. And what did the king decree in the book of Esther? Every woman would bow to her Baal. Go look the word up for husband there. It's Baal. As your Lord and your master. And God says, and it's mother speaking there. It's not no father speaking there. It's mother speaking there. I don't care what they wrote there. It was Baal who translated this and took the righteous feminine out of her rightful place.
Remember I told y'all too, you have to decode it's mistranslated. Hold on one second. Kai, stop before I put you back there. Come on. I'm not gonna fight with you. At least 2 weeks. I don't want to do no more work on the computer for at least 2 weeks. It's enough put up.
These bells. In Micah 4:11, this is what they're saying. They say, now also many nations are gathered against thee. They say, let her be defiled. She likes it. None's calling for justice or the truth. They're under it. They're being subservient to us. They must like it. None of them stands up and asks for the truth in the earth. They must like it. They must love us, abusing them. They must love playing the harlot, because none's asking for the truth. None's asking for just judgment to fall. None's presenting a case of innocence. And what does it say? Now also many nations are gathered against thee that say, let her be defiled, and let her eyes look upon Zion. Where are the daughters of Zion to stand up for mother's truth? But watch what it says in verse 12. But they know not the thoughts of the Lord, neither understand they her counsel. For she shall gather them as the sheaves in the floor. This is the threshing of the nations, and it's done by these daughters of Zion with no guile in their mouth. They have obtained what they searched for, which was the truth, to deliver the children into the new heaven. That we've won. We've won it back. We've fought our heart and souls out, and we died for it. And arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make thine horn iron, and I will make thy hoofs brass, and thou shalt beat in pieces many people. And I will consecrate their gain unto the Lord, and their substance unto the Lord of the whole earth. And there you have it. There you have it. Christ says we are not subject to the elemental principles of this world anymore. He freed us. And he's the king now. He's a kingly priest. And once we call for judgment and justice, he takes that into mother. That's what he does. Actually, we do too. So, there you go. Go do your own homework. Go do your own research. And I believe Joel, too, is a representation of these daughters kicking the harlot out of their rightful birthright. That's what Joel 2 is. That's that mighty army. What does the daughter Babylon say in Isaiah 47? She says, none sees me. I will never be widowless. I will never be childless. I'm hidden in his heart. He's going to keep exalting that law to debase his righteous sister. So I'm going to stay in power here in the second heaven. And none of you are going to defeat me. None of you are going to take me out because you just think that's smart. And none of you are going to call for judgment and justice and truth. None of you. Because you're just not that wise. Well, we have to work together. And, but understand, they're stole away, too. Like a thief in the night. So there's a lot happening. There's a lot going on. Alright? And so there we go. That's our video on the origins of Satan. I might put the title as Satan's Origins. Well, you'll find out anyway. Hope to get this uploaded today. I was fed this knowledge beginning on Sunday. It's words that I've thought about, stumbled across on occasion, just never paid a whole lot of attention to like I needed to. Hi, brothers and sisters. I thought today we'd make a video on something that I don't think most of us really get. We really don't understand it. And I think largely because of 4 reasons, and I was guilty of this too, so don't think I'm pointing the finger at you. I can point it easily at myself. But one of 4 reasons I think we can give why we don't really understand the Jezebel spirit, which is what we're going to be discussing today. And it's either 1, because we're too dumb, 2, we're too lazy, 3, we're too afraid, and 4, we've been brainwashed. And so we just assume that what our men have determined the Jezebel spirit means, that must be so. But it's really not. Because they tend to teach, and this is the way a man thinks, this is not the way a woman thinks, because men and women think really totally different in a lot of ways. But my idea is that feminism and harlotry are total oppositions to one another. Feminism does not promote harlotry. What does promote it is a fake idea of feminism, and I'll prove that when we get to the end here. But the first thing that we really need to do, and my camera's gonna act up, it's been acting up, I was lucky to even get it up, okay? The first thing that we're really gonna do, and I do this every time, is we're gonna take a look at Jezebel. This is the first thing we're gonna do. Okay, and we're gonna try to understand just what that harlot spirit, or this Jezebel spirit, really was all about, okay? Was she about feminism? Does feminism even factor into this? It doesn't seem to even be in question here. The idea of a woman in power isn't questioned at all. But her actions is what I'm going to strongly go after and look at what she's really doing here and what Ahab is doing here. This is where we're going to get our full understanding of what the Jezebel spirit is really all about. So, verse 1, this is 1 Kings 18. And it came to pass after many days that the word of the Lord came to Elijah in the 3rd year, saying, Go show thyself unto Ahab, and I will send rain upon the earth. And Elijah went to show himself unto Ahab, and there was a sore famine in Samaria. And Ahab called Obadiah, which was the governor of his house. Now Obadiah feared the Lord greatly. Verse 4. For it was so when Jezebel cut off the prophets of the Lord, that Obadiah took 100 prophets and hid by 50 in a cave and fed them with bread and water. Okay. Let's keep going on here. And Ahab said unto Obadiah, Go into the land unto a fountain of water and unto all the brooks, peradventure we may find grass to save the horses and the mules alive, that we lose not all the beasts. Verse 6. So they divided the land between them to pass through it. Ahab went one way by himself, and Obadiah went another way by himself. Now, excuse me. And as Obadiah was in the way, behold, Elijah met him. And he knew him, and fell on his face, and said, Art thou that my lord Elijah? And he answered him, I am. Go tell thy lord, behold, Elijah is here. And he said, What? Have I sinned, that thou wouldest deliver thy servant into the hand of Ahab to slay me? So he's not saying Jezebel, he's saying Ahab here. So Ahab and Jezebel is obviously in cahoots, on the same mind here, doing the same, committing the same crimes. Alright, let's keep going here. As the Lord thy God liveth, there is no nation or kingdom whither my Lord had not sent to seek thee. And when they said, He is not there, he took an oath of the kingdom and nation that they found thee not. And now thou sayest, Go tell thy Lord, behold, Elijah is here. And it shall come to pass as soon as I am gone from thee, that the Spirit of the Lord shall carry thee whither I know not. And so when I come and tell Ahab, and he cannot find thee, he will slay me. But thy servant fear the Lord from my youth. But I, thy servant, fear the Lord from thy youth. Was it not told my prophet what I did, when Jezebel slew the prophets of the Lord, how I hid 100 men of the Lord's prophets by 50 in a cave, and fed them with bread and water? And now sayest thou, Go tell thy Lord, behold, Elijah is here, and he shall slay me. And Elijah said, As the Lord of hosts liveth, before whom I stand, I will surely show myself unto him today. Okay, now, we understand, firstly, this is the first thing we need to understand. Elijah and Obadiah is in opposition to Ahab and to Jezebel. Alright, there's also another factor missing here, that as the power of Baal, Ahab, and men like Ahab, and the Jezebel spirit grows, that you will not find the female righteous spirit who is in covenant with Obadiah and Elijah. You will find her completely removed from the text. Now, we'll establish this in a minute. And it came to pass when Ahab saw Elijah, that Ahab said unto him, Art thou he that troubled Israel? Alright. And he said, I have not troubled Israel, but thou. Okay, so what's going on here? So Obadiah meant to meet Ahab and told him. And Ahab went to Elijah. Okay, so Ahab ends up talking to Elijah. And Ahab saw Elijah, that Ahab said unto him, Art thou he that troubleth Israel? So what does Elijah say to Ahab? I have not troubled Israel, but thou and thy father's house, in that ye have forsaken the commandments of the Lord, of the true living God, and thou hast followed Balaam. What's Baal responsible for? Balaam responsible for? Baal. The exaltation of Baal. Why is that important? Well, for anybody who's following me, you ought to know why that's important. And the harlot spirit that Baal exalts in his heart was important to him because of why? Let's keep looking at what took place. Now therefore send and gather to me all Israel unto Mount Carmel, and the prophets of Baal 450, and the prophets of the groves. The prophets of the groves. That's El Berith. We'll show you that in a few minutes from now. 400, which eat at Jezebel's table. So, why do these prophets eat at Jezebel's table? Why do they do that? Because it mentions the grove. And the grove, whether you're looking at it in a righteous sense, and there is a female grove that Abraham planted, and there he went out and worshiped the true living God. But here, it states that the prophets from the grove ate at her table. So the Asherites ate at her table. These are going to be identified as the covenant of El Berith, which is their stronghold that Baal runs into in the book of Judges when Gideon pursues them to take them out of the land. So this is all connected to Baal worship, all right? Because we're bringing in Baal prophets, all right? So Ahab sent unto all the children of Israel and gathered the prophets together unto Mount Carmel, or Carmel. And Elijah came unto all the people and said, How long halt ye between two opinions? So we got two opponents in view here going on, all right? That's what we got going on. If the Lord be God, follow not him. God has never been a him. God became a him when the Baals got charge of the word. Alright? This all testifies to this. That's a foundation, the false foundation that we built a lying theology upon, and then yoked women under the law and wrote this ridiculous division known as feminism into it. That was never even on God's radar. God says you are all equal in my kingdom. So where does the idea of feminism actually come from? Well, it came from Baal. That's where it comes from. That's where it originates from. And sons who are taught by fathers teach this. And this is proven over and over again for anybody who wants to go in and do their study. So, I'm not doing a great job of this, but we're going to have a lot to look at, so I better get moving. Okay, so why halt ye between two opinions? If God be God, follow God. But if Baal, then follow Baal. And the people answered not a word. Then said Elijah unto the people, even I only remain a prophet of the Lord. Well, that's been disputed. We already know there was 7,000 that had not bowed their knee to Baal. And Baal, what's the definition of Baal? Well, we already identified the definition of Baal with the Strong's Hebrew 1167. It's derived from 1168, which is the Baal God. But this is where it began. The shaping of your husband as the image of God, as male and king. And so you get this word 1167, Baal, B-A-A-L, that derives from 1168, which is a masculine noun. It means owner and lord, archer, bridegroom, husband, master, all of that. All right? So we understand what we're up against here now with Baal, but do we understand the definition of Jezebel, which is who Ahab, known as the one in opposition as a man of Baal, who was married to Jezebel, and what does her name mean? Baal exalts, or his husband too. So what did man come to exalt in his heart, as we came to understand in our studies? Well, he began to exalt the harlot spirit. And why did man begin to exalt the harlot spirit? Because she would do what? She would coddle him and teach him as God, and work to exalt him. And this is exactly the spirit of the Jezebel in these two chapters, once you go in and you identify it. So, watch this. We're going to keep reading. So, I also wanted to point to Isaiah 47, your harlot. What does she say? For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. This is the queen of Babylon. This is the harlot spirit, exalted in man's heart. And she says, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge it has perverted thee, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else. When you take away a woman's rights under the law, and God says, I am no respecter of person, and you take away a woman's right, and when she tries for her rights as an equal under the law, you call her a feminist. You want her to disappear, is what you want her to do. And this is precisely what the harlot spirit is saying here in Isaiah 47. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. A woman is not to be heard or listened to because she's a harlot. Oh, but he exalts the harlot in his heart. And she says, none seeth me. And what was Jezebel doing with Ahab? Well, Jezebel means Baal exalts. Why would Baal, Ahab, exalt Jezebel in his heart? Because she was doing something all men expect every woman to do. Coddle his ego and build his power, which is what she was doing. She was not building her own power. She was not a feminist. She wasn't out fighting for women's right. Guess whose rights she was building up? Her husband's. And you watch how he goes about building his power base and how she goes about doing it for him. Alright? So Ahab sent unto all the children of Israel and gathered all the prophets unto Carmel. And Elijah came unto all the people and said, how long halt ye between two opinions? If the Lord be God, follow Baal. Then if follow him, and if the people answered him, and the people answered him not a word, then said Elijah unto the people, even I only remain, which he did not. We know there were 7,000 that had not bowed their knee. We're told that in, I believe, Romans 11 as well. Let them therefore give us 2 bullocks. Okay, 2 bullocks. We're going to get into how they wrote the eating, actually, of the flesh of an animal, i.e. a bull, of an animal into the law that had been sacrificed unto idols, false male idols, and they were sacrificed to male idols, is what they were sacrificed to. So it's interesting that here we have the Torah law that teaches this very thing that they're trying to say is the founding of the Torah, the temple, and all these festivals, which is all about the celebration of the sacrifice of a male and the shedding of that blood, and yet this preaches against it. Now, something's in total opposition here. Total opposition. And we know it to be true because we've studied it on our other videos. So, let them therefore give us 2 bullocks, and let them choose 1 bullock for themselves, and cut it in pieces and lay it on the wood. Now, you understand, this is the hard part to get through, people. The men of Baal have written this word using he as God. Alright? Over time, these men of Baal has gained power over our written word. This is why God says, the true living God, where your true living waters flow from, says, I wrote it on your heart. You ought to know who I am.
Right, because this is the new covenant. I stated that in my intro video. The new covenant, no longer will man teach one to another. In the end, my sons and daughters will prophesy.
I am not a God of various weights. I am a God of fairness and equal treatment to all. If you can't figure that out about God's character, then you are in serious trouble. So here we have them 2 bullocks. Right, alright. Well, we'll go with that. Since the men of Baal wrote it in here, it must be so. So what does he say? And cut it in pieces, lay it on the wood, and put no fire under it. And I will dress the other bullock, and lay it on wood, and put no fire under it. And call you on the name of your gods, and I will call on the name of the Lord. And the God that answers by fire, let that one be God. I ain't saying him. God says, you saw no image of me, make no image of me. I am no respecter of the person. I am who I am. That means you don't limit me by form, and yet the men of Baal taught a male form, and you fall for it because you are one, either too dumb, too lazy, too weak-minded and afraid, or simply too brainwashed to go in and do the hard study. That's going to lead you to the deeper understanding of what this whole religious lie is founded upon, which is a lying foundation that daubs in the wall. We're going to get to that in a minute too. And call you on the name of your gods, and I'll call on the name of the Lord. And the God that answers by fire, let that be the God. Okay, and the people said, well spoken. So Elijah said unto the prophets of Baal, choose you 1 bullock for yourself, and dress it first for you are many, and call on the name of your gods, but put no fire under it. So we understand what was going on here. Alright? We're proving who God is here. It's either Baal or the God of Elijah. Alright? This is what they're trying to say. You understand the harlot spirit of Jezebel was to build up Baal. That's what she did. And that's proven by these 2 passages that we're taking a look at. That's precisely what she did. She was working to build her husband up as God and Lord and ruler of earth. And later on, she disappears. This is not a feminist. This is a harlot. That's what a harlot does. Build and coddle hubby up to be a god. And that's what her role was. You watch what the Jezebel does. And they took the bullock which was given them, and they dressed it, and they called on the name of Baal from morning, evening, unto noon, and nothing happens. We get that. They were cutting themselves and everything. Baal had no power to do anything. So we keep going on. And they cut themselves until blood gushed out. There we go with the blood and the violence under the law that God required a sacrifice. God says, I never asked of you a sacrifice. I didn't ask that of you. I asked you to follow my laws peacefully. And she shows that through her only begotten Son, because he was the only one who walked after her laws. And the way that he did that was to exalt the righteous spirit within his heart, known as daughter Zion, who is the actual adversary here. But you wouldn't know that because you don't want to go in and actually study to get the hard truth, because it might hurt his ears. And the funny thing about most women today is they're too wrapped up to exalting their husband to dare go in and say anything different of what he says is the truth. And well, you know, if I'm a good, godly little woman to my man, he's going to do this. Yeah, that's what they do. But the minute you go against them and they say, you ain't got the truth here. A Jezebel spirit is not a feminist. A Jezebel spirit is a harlot.
Yeah.
And a harlot is in total opposition to a real woman.
Yeah.
And the respect that she asks for. And actually deserves according to God's law. Not man-made law. Man-made law will never give it to a woman. Never.
Never have. Never.
And that's your men of Baal who claiming to be God and says, well, it comes from God. No, it never come from God. Never come from God to yoke a woman. You chose that yourself. And you exalted the harlot in your heart. And that's why it says the definition of her name means Baal exalts, or his husband too. And we know the one he married here is spoken of in Isaiah 54. Single barren, thou that didst not bear. That's the righteous daughter Zion, whom no man sought after. Break forth into singing and cry aloud, thou that does not travail with child. To have children means they're listening and hearkening to your laws and the truth. For more are the children of the desolate than the children of the married wife. Married wife hears Baal, saith the Lord. So he married Baal because Baal exalts the harlot in his heart, and he exalts the harlot in the heart because she exalts him as God and Lord and coddles and builds him up on this earth. You see this with the definition, coddle. What does coddle mean? Treat in an...
And a lot of men get that twisted and they think that that's a woman's love. I could see how it got confused. And then they thinking that that's love. And the one, y'all know, I ain't got to go in detail. This is
indulgent or overprotective way. And unless you studied Jezebel's heart when it came to her beloved Ahab and what she was willing to do for him, you will not understand the spirit of Jezebel. You will not.
It is far
You're
from
going to
what you
listen
think.
to men of Baal telling you it's dark.
And y'all think that it's single mothers, women out on the street, image of young women or women that drink, that smoke. Y'all thinking that, no, it's your holy Christian woman that wears her dresses, her skirts, and do everything right. Okay? It's her, you know, don't smoke, don't drink, don't do anything, never done anything. Hebrew Israelite woman, if you want to say that, whatever titles. It's the image that come in everything, dressed as if you would want in a woman. Oh, it come meek, it come gentleness, it comes some of those things. But that's only the image. But behind it, it's not coming from within. But behind it, it's only molded agenda and destruction. Okay? Because after a while, you know, it makes a man fall into straight flesh. Now he's walking around like that. Sooner or later, he's going to run into the right woman or man with that spirit that you produced. Even yourself may run into the wrong right woman or man, and it's going to. It makes them highly. They look down on the low. They have built them up with their watch. Oh, she bought me this, she bought me that. You know, it's all those characteristics, if you would say, worldly, anything, just haughtiness. Perfection on the outer, because this is what the Pharisees and scribes was about. I slept with harlots and different things, and this is what happened to them. This is what happened to them. So it doesn't come. They always want to talk about how wicked men come to a righteous woman, all clothed her to be this and this, that. No, that happens, but you need to be on what it is for a woman, how they come to deceive. Oh, they'll never preach that. They'll never teach that in none of these organizations. No man would ever teach that. If they do, then you know that day has come. Just know that. Well, they're not going to do it. I'm talking about in the truth and action. Because if they really was holding the real truth, this stuff would have, you know, it would have been the end. But they have prolonged their timing, because they know just soon enough, soon in timing, the righteous woman was going to get back up. The spirit going to come. It's going to come back. And it's going to start breaking their heads. They're going to start doing these things. It's going to come. Sooner or later, the lies ain't going to last too long. Okay? That have been to and through. Conquering, dividing households. Getting other people to fall to their whorery, idolatry of themselves. Going around people, putting in coats, doing church. I mean, it have became really infiltrated in a sense. It's terrible. And the same ones coming to that spirit, calling themselves in the truth, you can't be. You can't be. There's no way you can be. If you understood, nah, you know what it is. So this is what happens. This is what happened. But sooner or later, Jezebel gonna break, because we see that she killed the prophets. Sooner or later, that's what it's telling you. It's gonna break. That gimme want she doing. It's soon enough that cycle gonna break when something boom in her head. Something gonna break. You praying something break, and that will be your judgment.
It's the feminist spirit. What a load of bull. And guess what that is? Baal's title is called Lord of Dumb. It's a load of bull that he wrote himself, and you harlots called Jezebels build him up and coddle him and tickle his little ears. Yeah, that's what they do. And so here we have evidence that this is precisely what the spirit of Jezebel is all about. You watch. So after this, we know what takes place. Elijah soaks down the altar. He keeps soaking it down and soaking it down. And he doesn't hardly have the words of his Lord out of his mouth before the fire comes and licks it clean up. You know why? You see, the women in Galatians 4 are allegorical to two covenants. That's what they're allegorical to. And one represents the harlot spirit. And this harlot spirit over time is completely made powerless because she chose to exalt her husband as her master and as her Lord. That's what she does, as proven by the spirit of the harlot Jezebel. But then we have the other woman, known as the righteous spirit, who comes from above and is the mother of us all. That means the life giver, the one that truly gives life to you. And she is the one that has the power. And she is the one that, because the harlot caused all womankind to be hid, because she began to exalt Baal, her husband, and he takes control of the so-called living word. And we've proven that. But what happens? The righteous feminine completely disappears from view and all knowledge of her. And we've proven that. And we'll continue to prove it when we study. And that's what God says in Peter. It's in Peter. It's in the book of Peter. God says the way you bring on the day of the Lord is through hard study. It's not through repetition, doctrines that's been handed down from man to son and taught to his wife in a violent situation, because that's what it came to be, in violence. We're told that in Malachi 2. He wrote violence against his wife under the law. Yet is she the wife of thy covenant, and not the one that you married, the daughter of a strange God. My God is my mother, who gave life to me and taught me her laws and her ways, that imputed no violence to anyone, and allowed for equality amongst everyone. And yet, amongst between the male and the female. And yet, we preach a God that absolutely is a God of various ways, and that does receive a blood sacrifice and demands it. That's the covenant with the harlot and fallen Adam that wrote Torah and all of the ridiculous rituals that they put in practice.
So you don't go along with their code, or you try to get out. You know how people, like they say with Islamic, they kill you. The same way with Christianity or these really, really, whatever other titles or codes. You know, you can't leave them, or if you leave them, they try to harm you, do stuff. And some people are not just willing to fight against that or accept death or whatever. Changing has to happen because of the Holy Spirit wants to require blood, because they feel like you're blaspheming, they feel like you're hating, they feel like you it's a lot, because they have a robotic mindset that they have been given because they done went too far in sin. Not saying because she had testimonies of people coming out things, but I don't think they understand harlotry is really worse than idolatry. So some things, like the Most High says, abomination, some things you will be handed over to. Some things are, you know, it's a curse, and it's going to be given. In Ham sin, and then we talked about Canaan sin under the video descriptions, and these are black people. Not and yes, you have Semitic people that has white color skin. You had Japheth, some of the Indians of ESAU. I mean, this can split so many ways, but all in all, good is good, evil is evil. But they have confused the two and have made it seem like, and made her just go into a straight old rotation instead of just, you know what I'm saying, the patience, the timing, everything is just on man cord, man will. And so now they running off their own timing, and she just left the stage completely. And it's just, their children are left to fend for their own, raise themselves, try to figure this thing out. And that's how basically it ends up with this harlotry.
As a male, to continue to force the idea that God is male. That's what this all was about. It was brought over from the Exodus. We see this when they kept asking for the taste of flesh in their mouth. And God says, why do you want flesh in your mouth? I have given you the food of angels, manna. And it can taste salty or it can taste sweet. That's the design of it. And yet, you require flesh in your mouth, bloodshed. That's what she's saying. You want me to take the life of an animal to fill your mouth because you are hungry for that. That's hungering for death. That's what that's really hungering for. And God says there's no death imputed in my laws. There's no violence in my laws. I never asked for blood. And yet, that's what the Torah law preaches. A blood sacrifice. And on the Passover, you must fill your mouth with all that meat before, daybreak. They had to eat it all up. Oh, yeah. Because God required a blood sacrifice. Nope. God says, I never required a blood sacrifice of you, ever. And yet, you continually disregard these verses. You disregard the truth of what the Jezebel spirit is telling you she is. We're going to keep looking at it. It just makes me so mad that people are so easily brainwashed and led astray and refuse to go in and reason out the truth themselves. And he said, do it the second time. And they did it the second time. So this is them filling the altar with water for Elijah. And the water ran round about the altar and filled the trench with water. And it came to pass at the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice to Elijah the prophet.
And that goes back to Mother Wisdom scriptures. Don't give the water no passions for a wicked woman to abroad. Now it's making sense. Now we talking about building, how we finna destroy her. That woman's not gonna give her no water while she quenched in fire, cause she was wicked. Now y'all understanding why I say what I say? Why I put my pictographs how I did? Because I know it's the gift of tongue that's out there. I mean, look, I know they exist. I'm a firm believer. That's why I know somebody gonna be on court with what the doctrine is. I know they got people out here. So I ain't worried about it. But I'm gonna set the foundation for all my bodies to come. For everybody to come in, whatever, and know the truth fully. I'm here. But that is why. But these men use that scripture to tell a woman, see, that's what it tells you about yourself. You don't need to be. How can you use wisdom against the form? You are got to be one fool to use wisdom against the woman that she is of. And you could never be a woman. So how can you jump from a man body into a woman? That's why this spirit is of a whore. It's of a woman. So either way you look at it, negative, bad, good, whatever, it's still of a woman. And you cannot transfer yourself into a woman. I don't care what the things they have done to this man made to make people transfer themselves over. As just because the men to vaginas and they think that, okay, now that's what I could be. No. Most of men are being suicidal and end up regretting it and then even being like tormented. A lot of them after they do stuff like that. So, but that's what they get. Going too darn far. It doesn't make no sense. You don't need to do all that. So no. And so now she tries to destroy and go murder for her husband. Go do all this wickedness of sin. She's just filled with blood. Then before she go out, guess what? She finna take a lot of the prophets out. She finna take whatever she can take out. Because she what it says, she's stronghold. Her feet is to the hell. The pits. She didn't never care about you. It was never about you. As you thought it was to push yourself up. Now you wait off a table. You seen that movie with it's a thin line between love and hate? Y'all. That is kind of like the perfect example in some way. Yeah, it's like in so many ways a little small description you can see it as, okay? Of somewhat like that. But anyway, come on, man. That's what happens. But like I said, only sluggers, fools, sinful of the sin, of the wickedness shall be taken by her. That's it. That's it. And it's so real. Mother wisdom can be both. Who knows? After she dragged the ones in the sin, put on her wicked coat, played a wicked woman, jump back into her other coat, righteous. Because no man knows the difference. Anyway, it was never for them. So it doesn't even matter what you look at it as. The only choice a man got is to obey the commandments or not. That's really what it leaves us. And it leaves y'all even. Is that because we are the standard. So it's even more. That's why she speaks that way. Even us, we got to be careful of ourselves. These wicked women that try to get in our head and try to... Yes. This is real. So who knows how this real thing go? But we know two women is involved. We know it's two oppositions. We know it's two different sides of coin. We know what is positive, negative, good, or bad. But yeah, and she'll kill. She'll sacrifice her children for her husband. That's what it was about. She'll do that. Yes, yes, yes. It's deep. It's deep. But she got a curse of her family, like and a curse of something similar. It's other deeper than that, but I don't gotta get into all that. But just know this is what she do. This is what she do. And it's a lot of
said, Lord God, Abraham,
and a lot of us are born of her. Despite if we got spirit or flesh or whatever, black, white, purple, whatever you want to call it, a lot of us was born from it. And that's just a sad reality, sad truth. It is what it is. We got to die to flesh, our mother flesh, to live. And it's true.
in Israel, not God of any woman. No, because she is the God presence here on earth. We're told it repeatedly in the text for anybody who can reason it out, which you don't want to. Let it be known that this day that thou art God in Israel. We're talking about the daughter Zion.
Now, if she repent and turn back and do not do the weaknesses of Ahab or do not do anything, so who knows if she was used for judgment, but we know she got eaten by dogs. So shall Baal, whatever people put it, said. Okay, anyway, bottom line is she can repent. Hopefully, this spirit, this her spirit is not so deep or they ain't that depth in it. Who knows? But the word did say it's a narrow path, not many. Few are chose. But just it's better to get the understanding though. Once you birth in this world and you be able to grow, get your own mind, it's best to get this understanding, because you put on your spiritual eyes while navigating, because this is existing, and we got, we born from this.
In her power as the presence of God here on earth, who was the one that Elijah was in covenant. Who was Baal in covenant with? Jezebel, because she was willing to exalt him as God and get rid of all knowledge of those righteous sons and the women that they exalted in their heart, where the true power of the living God came from. And we're told the living waters flowed from Lebanon. What are you talking Lebanon for? That's Zion, and that comes from Zion because they took.
And this goes back to wisdom cannot dwell in a maladish soul. So she can't dwell in a woman that's of it, because she's straight weakness. She got this sin. She don't care about eating. I mean, she just mimic her husband, do whatever she is. It's like a robotic. So she can't dwell inside a woman like that, because she got sin. It's gonna take a divine vision or something real devastating. Maybe it's gonna be something if they do change from that. But harlotry is deeper than idolatry. It's all wickedness and wrong sin, but harlotry is the reason why the fall happened, what happened, and the understanding of how we are born through sin through the woman, and why God disfavored her, and that's why she wasn't chosen, and why the things you can fall into if you don't be careful from the snares of her of this way about this life system that's built on.
Tore her temple down. We proved it. Hear me, O Lord, hear me. All right. Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt offering. This is the power of the presence of God, identified as the camp of Mahanaim, the rejected outcast whom no man sought after. Over time, they became a distant memory and then a distant nothing, because no one could see her, because over time the harlot spirit allowed herself and all womankind to be hid under the law and restrained and yoked. You can't reason it out, can we? So, hear me, O Lord, hear me.
Now, go back to the scripture. Mother Wisdom says the virtuous women were deprived of their labor. Now this making sense? If you don't get along with her husband, or you don't go by his house rules, or this and that, or y'all don't listen to him, y'all don't listen to my man on his TV, y'all don't do the things y'all do, oh, you're gonna be labor harbor. You just this is what they gon' this is their attitude. And majority are what? Are older women stuck in this state, because they had to live through a lot more devastating kind of things than young women. So I'm gonna get it to y'all. I sympathize y'all. I'm not gonna take away the struggling things y'all had to during y'all generation, but let's make it clear though. You were supposed to try to break the chains of us, your daughters. You were supposed to be wanting to, pay the way or do something different. Why wouldn't you want to? You know what I'm saying? But it's all about them, so they can get the inheritance of Arab when he leaves, or get the notion and not want the young woman to shine. Don't want the spirit to go. You know what I'm saying? They use tricks and trials and these little different material things to call their self-worth and put you down and do. It's just that's the spirit of harlot. It's material. They worship that. They think they stuff in they womb, and then some of them, it's so bad it's the sex. They think that's what the men stand there for, and that's what they use too, because they have nothing else. So that's what they use to do things. It's just deep harlotry at its core, and it's terrible. And so men would rather go to that. 9 times out of 10 today, you can see it in the world. It's existing. Sin has a role. They don't want nothing other than somebody that's going to fill their flesh and do whatever it is, and no rejection. It's that way now. I live my life that way. It's that way. It's wrong, but you accept it for what I accept it for. It's like, it is what it is. And so you got the harlots playing around, want to imitate a righteous woman, think, oh yeah, we got this, we got a house, she ain't got nothing, she got this and that. And so now y'all stunting on a poor little girl, poor little beautiful girl that just said I ain't got no. You're stunting on the one that, you know, want to come up with you, want to do something with your assurance. This is what happens. And then the harlotry don't mean she got money. You got harlotries that are poor, were born poor too. They just go seek after this stuff because that's the way they was taught too. So it's both ways. It ain't even about a matter of materialist. It's about the character, the morality, and the standpoint of a woman's view of life and her spirit. That's where it's at. And so now you got that clashing. And so now the harlots expect us to bow down to their husbands. We don't have our own husband. We're not getting no covenant. We don't need a covenant at all. Now everything goes back to her man and her man, what he say. But these old wise serpents. And that's it. That's the image of a man, and we don't stop there. See how everything making sense? And if you say something about my husband or my family or this and that, I'm gonna make it hard for you. I'm gonna use our system against you. We're gonna use all types of stuff. Okay, Most I got something for that. That's just what they do. That's what they do.
That this people may know that thou art the Lord God, and that thou hast turned their heart back again. Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt sacrifice, and the wood and the stones and the dust, and licked up the water that was in the trench. And when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces, and they said, the Lord, she is God. They would have known this at that time. The Lord, she is God, not he. Because Deuteronomy, I believe it's 4, says, you saw no image, you make no image of me. So if they were calling on the true living God or falling down, they certainly would not have said he. Yeah, you can argue, well, they wouldn't have said she either. You're right. But since we know that Jezebel's covenant and Baal's covenant were well known and in total opposition of the righteous covenant, then we have to assume that they knew they were going against the righteous daughters of Zion and their righteous sons that exalted them in their heart and their laws. And what does Job say in Job 30? I get this wrong every time. Job 31, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? Well, Ahab had a maid, and he married her. For what portion of God is there from above? The inheritance from the Almighty from on high. He's saying the wife of his original covenant. That's what he's saying. And these men would have known it. These women would have known it. Baal would have known it. El-Berith, Jezebel would have known it. Elijah would have known it, and he would have known who he was exalting in his heart. We can't reason this out. It's just so hard. Oh my gosh. Yes, because you're listening to the men of Baal's lies and not going in and reasoning. And Elijah said unto Ahab, get thee up, eat and drink, for there is a sound of abundance of rain. Okay. So we can go on here. There's only 4 or 5 verses. Okay, so Ahab went up to eat and drink, and Elijah went up to the top of Carmel and cast himself down upon his knees and put his face between his knees and said to his servant, go up now, look toward the sea. And he went up and looked and said, there is nothing. And he said, go again 7 times. And it came to pass that 7 times is an example of the sevenfold spirit. That's the covenant of the sevenfold spirit known as daughters, female, feminine. We've already identified that as such if you want to backtrack and watch some of my other videos. And it came to pass the 7th time that he said, behold, there arises a little cloud out of the sea like a man's hand. And he said, go out, say unto Ahab, prepare thy chariots and get thee down, that the rain stop thee not. And it came to pass in the meanwhile that the heaven was black with clouds. And Ahab rode and went to Jezebel. And the hand of the Lord was on Elijah, and he girded up his loins and ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. Now, here's where we're going to understand the true nature of the Jezebel spirit. Right here. Okay, I got to backtrack now. I had it up. What happened to my passage? I swear they just took it down. Okay. So it is. See, where did it go? maybe we'll go back. Sorry, folks. Okay. It never works out for me, ever. Okay, it's a fight. I am in a battle. I'm in a spiritual battle against my enemies. And the enemy, make no mistake, they're so clever. They got the wool pulled over your eyes, and nobody wants to see it. Okay, so, well, what did they do? They just took it away? It was pulled up here, and now it's just totally gone. Okay, fine. We'll go in, and we will. Nope, I can't get rid of it. Okay. So we'll go to, this is where we're going to. And it was pulled up, and now it's gone, of course. 1 Kings, so it'll screw my camera up. 21 parallel chapters is what I'm after. And this is where we prove the nature of Jezebel. Okay? And we're going to prove that she was indeed a harlot, that she was, if anything, as far removed from a feminist as a woman could be. And it came to pass after these things that Naboth, the Jezreelite, had a vineyard which was in Jezreel, and hard by the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria. Get it? So, this man owned a vineyard right next to the king's palace. Alright. And Ahab spake unto Naboth, saying, Give me thy vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house, unto my palace, and I will give thee for it a better vineyard than it, or if it seem good to thee, I will give thee the worth of it in money. And Naboth said to Ahab, The Lord forbid it me, that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto thee. And Ahab came into his house heavy. Now watch the nature of Ahab. He wants his ears tickled, is what he wants. He wants to taste the honey that his spouse is willing to offer him. And so this is watch the behavior, and this is the behavior of so many men. It's almost akin to a tantrum if I don't get my way. And that's the nature of Baal, your husband today, who wants to be your Lord and Master, and we will prove that in a minute as we continue on. Sorry, I keep saying minutes, but you know what I mean. Later on, we're going to prove it. Nahum came into his house heavy and displeased because of the word which Naboth, the Jezreelite, has spoken to him. For he has said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid him down upon his bed, and turned away his face, and he would not eat. Oh, he was sulking. He was sulking. He couldn't have what he wanted. So what? He tells this to his wife. But Jezebel, his wife, came to him and said unto him, Why is thy spirit so sad, that thou eatest no bread? Oh, what a feminist she is. You better watch out for these women, boys. You don't want these kind on your side, keeping your ego with that he in charge crap, do ya? No. She's a feminist. She's all for women. This isn't about exalting Baal as God and King. No, that's not what the Jezebel spirit's about. And he said unto her, Because I spake unto Naboth the Jezreelite, and said unto him, Give me thy vineyard for money, or else, if it please thee, I will give thee another vineyard for it. And he answered, I will not give thee my vineyard. So what? She tickles him. And Jezebel, his wife, said unto him, Dost thou not govern the kingdom of Israel? Are you not king? Arise and eat bread, and let thine heart be merry. I will give thee the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. Ooh, and he knew it. He knew what his sulking was going to get him. So she wrote letters in Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal, and sent the letters unto the elders and to the nobles that were in his city dwelling with Naboth. And she wrote in the letter, saying, Proclaim a fast, and set Naboth on high among the people. And set 2 men, sons of Belial. What does sons of Belial mean? Sons of darkness. It means 2 wicked men. It wasn't very hard for her to find wicked men. Because that's who her covenant was with.
That's right.
Wicked men that exalts the harlot in their heart so they can be exalted as gods on this earth. This is the simple teaching for anybody who has the reason.
And send them to the daughter. And send them to the daughters of the Most High God. Send them to the daughters of Zion. To kill them, beat them, put them in. I mean, yeah, she hired wicked men. They do it all the time too for her. To silence young women or any woman or whatever they, you know. It's not hard to find wicked men or wicked women. Do you not know that? Money rules this world, so if you caught up in it, you may catch yourself slipping because you're around all these hardened people that you think you trust when, like I said, a Judas will be in everybody. Family, environment, or anything you want to come about. It is what it is. It's the truth. It's the truth. This is a dangerous spirit. Now you see why?
Ability and the desire to go in and search for the deeper truths instead of listening to men going, oh, that Jezebel spirit, that feminist spirit. Oh, really? You could have fooled me. The fact that she was female didn't even enter into the conversation because you see women were viewed as equals under the law. But at this point, she was building Baal up that in the course of time would lead to the eventuality that all women would be yoked under Baal's laws. Alright? This is what this all tells you. So, what does she do? And she found two wicked men opposite him and had them testify against who? Naboth, saying, you have cursed God and the king. Who was she really talking about as God and king here? She was talking about her husband, Baal. She wasn't being no feminist. What are you talking feminism here? We're talking harlotry here. And we're talking about a king that knew he had married a woman that was going to build him up and let him do what his little heart desired. Yeah, that's the Jezebel spirit.
And that's why, soon as he allowed her to do that, that's why she gets souls. Right there, because a wicked woman is given to a wicked man. You got to be something wicked to want that. You got to be something wicked to go along with a woman to do some damage to another woman or anybody or children. And you're okay with it just for the worship of yourself. And you don't cut the sword. See, they allowed the hardest to live. Men started allowing the hardest to live. It was times where, you know, you had the righteousness to be able to discern and know, you know. And then you had sons of men. But overall, it was the Most High portion. The Most High do it. See fit of the spirit. But yeah, this is why it's given to a portion. This is, as soon as he did that, that was all with. Because your heart has got to be evil to want. There ain't no way to look around it. And so that's what happened. And now she in full control of the body.
And you women who step up to play and teach that, oh, you women who are expecting equality under the law and dare think it's of God, you are playing the Jezebel spirit. Oh, no, we're not. You are. And this proves it for anybody who can study and reason it out. So she hires two wicked men who are willing to testify against a righteous man. And we don't even know whether Naboth had a wife. They erased all understanding of whether he was married. And certainly if he was married, she would have had no legal recourse to claim the stead as hers because, well, they erased women's right over time. We're told that in the book of Hester, that the men that every woman would bow to her Baal as Lord and Master, as decreed by the king there, who got upset with his wife who wouldn't bow to him and let a drunken king more or less drool over her. Well, she was just...
And they say this is a woman's world. No, this is a woman's enslavement. This world was considered the woman in slavery, bondage. Heavens was always considered her freedom, liberty. So, I don't know what, even James Brown said this is man's world, but he also said it would be nothing but a woman. Yeah, it wouldn't be, because y'all enslaving them to be that. So, this is where we at. This is where we at.
Oh, a woman can't do that. No, no, no. So we had further teachings of Baal suppressing the righteous spirit. That's what we have here. And so we have two wicked men testifying against Naboth, who might have been married. Had he been married, they would have either, Jezebel being a harlot that she was, probably would have handed her off to the men to do with what they want, or they would have sold her into slavery, or they simply would have killed her or executed her, or just run her off of the property. So that's kind of what Solomon is doing. And actually, this is going to come into play, what Solomon was doing.
So you comply by the rules and regulations of the household. Yeah, it even go deep. She'll get sacrifice of daughters, children. She'll do anything. This is dangerous. Do y'all not hear it? Look, you seen the picture? Surely somebody got to stop her. It went too far. It went too far. And it's like, man. Imagine this being y'all parents, your mom or your father or auntie or uncle or cousin or imagine this, because it's in the world. Now y'all see the story that's clashing. Now, oh, you think your family help you some or they get you some. This is what happens. But when you don't care about that, what's the next step they're going to try to play? And you want to put something on your pictograph for checkmate with a chessboard? And then you guys want to put these funny images on your platforms? No. Y'all are deceived. And y'all have really not understood the Jezebel spirit as women know. Y'all not the form to know that. I don't care how y'all pretend to act like y'all do. That's the delusion that y'all are women. Y'all are not us. So at the end of the day, I know that to be fake. So you can't try to wave it as if you know and break down what you is. No, you don't know that. You only get to accept the pathway. And you told women that they don't have many chances. And the Most High is not graceful. No, they're more graceful with the daughters. That's why they've been patient this long time. But overall, it was the fulfillment of prophecy too had to come. But you think that it was so much y'all, they was trying to slow it back, and not really. It was more for the daughters, because trying to get some of them some time to wake up, trying to get them to see the bigger picture. But sometimes it's too dark, too veiled, because they love this lifestyle or the material wealth of this world today. Okay.
When he was daubing up the walls. This is actually going to come in play in this chapter for anybody who's watched and understood what the key of David was about. So, and
basically that's why everything that I had was burnt up in a fire symbolically, because it was given by the devil hand, aka a man, my earthly father. I'm just being honest. I'm just giving y'all some real circumstances too that you can use if something in your experience, See, the Most High don't give and take away. That's not the Most High hand. He doesn't. It's when you get something, it's yours. It's not that. It's perfect. So no one can fool you with that. You know what I'm saying? So when y'all start to feel these things going, all this, because it's gonna happen. That's why I say with the truth, then you're gonna have these Job experience, and you're gonna go through this torment. This for the sons and daughters. They're gonna realize these things. It's happening now. It's happening. But I hope it just wasn't too late that they had to see COVID to know this stuff has been going on century and century, and it had to come to a head. And then so now we're here, guys, and it's like we all have been in that type of horror spirit at one time about something happened. So this is where we at now. And so everything got burned down. I'm like, I'm okay, I'm fine. You know what? I just need to live every day. My needs. So this is where I'm at now. And of course, they'll make it as if, oh, trying to put me back in the box in the image, or be like, oh no, nothing happened. Look, man, it's already chosen. Everything's already done. It is what it is. I forgive, move on. But like I said, I ain't no more going to sleep. The only thing left is just wars. The only thing left is to end what needed to be ended. And that's for anybody that's walking in spirit. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. This is something real dangerous for a man. Seriously.
Men of his city, even the elders and the nobles who were the inhabitants in his city, did as Jezebel had sent unto them, and as it was written in the letters which she had sent unto them, and they proclaimed.
Like I said, this is why Christ said, you only going to be exalting either one of the two in your heart. That's it. And he even strives on the two pathway. That's it. Ain't no you can have the righteous and the wicked, the harlot and the wicked. So now they got women playing the harlot and the wicked, thinking that they are harlot the whole time, but thinking they righteous. Going to church, putting on these, doing all this, and they going to church saying God and this Jesus, and they just think that they all holy, and be the filthiest and dealing with a lot of abominations of sin. I'm just being honest. Now you got her. Now you dealing with two things of images right there. So when the one come on scene trying to tell you, nah, that's not it. I don't care how you look at her image or outside, what this, that. No, it's a spiritual thing too. And so it's like, man, so men gonna have to have their own way. You gonna have these women righteous, or you gonna have them harlots. And we have been in the harlot state of mind. It's been happening, and through time, a lot of them got killed. A lot of them, that's what it comes to. A rebellion. So we'll know if the spirit gonna intervene on this last time. We'll see. We'll see if this is the time of the end or not. Or if it's just another stigma or another labelment for the ones that want to comply to sins of women to get killed. We will see. Let's just let the prophets feel what's really going on, that's been going on.
Claimed to fast and set Naboth on high among the people. So was she a feminist? No. She was simply doing what her power would allow her to do, and the power came from God. The power came to Baal, to Ahab by God. This was simply the structure and the order of things. And there came into men, so we're saying feminism doesn't even factor in here. Not in one iota does it factor in here.
And there came
into men children of Belial and sat before him. That means children of darkness, children of wickedness. And the men of Belial witnessed against him, even against Naboth in the presence of the people, saying Naboth did blaspheme God and the king. So God and the king is basically her husband Baal. Then they carried him forth out of the city and stoned him with stones that he died. Excuse me. Then they sent to Jezebel, saying, Naboth is stoned and is dead. Watch 15. And it came to pass, when Jezebel heard that Naboth was stoned and was dead, that Jezebel says to Ahab, this is the feminist speaking to her husband, who she promised, don't worry, you're the king, you're the god of the land, you'll have what you want. This is the feminist. No, this is the harlot vowing to her husband. Arise, take possession of the vineyard of Naboth, the Jezreelite, which he refused to give thee for money, for Naboth is not alive but dead. And it came to pass, when Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, that Ahab rose up to go down to the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite to take possession of it. So you see, Jezebel was a real feminist. Oh my gosh, do you even hear the ridiculousness of it? And the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite, because you see, under God's law, all were equal. Men were not.
So when a man is telling you, ladies, that your power is in submission, look what happened to Samson. And that woman, what she do? Then when you look at what Jezebel do, So right off top, when you know a man has spoken them words, you know what he dealing with harshly. And 9 times 10, if you got a wife or girlfriend dealing with, you know what it's about. That's the signal she's telling you as a woman. Know the code. Because this is real. It don't matter, I don't mind saying it. Because that's what it is. But you got to determine that women speak in a expressive way. You can get signals from them and can pull in what's really going on. Sometimes you can do that. So all I'm saying is that's basically what it's saying. And he's telling on her without he even knowing it. And she knows that. But she knows he ain't going nowhere because he loved that. That's what he loved. That's what he like to eat up. He likes to be exalted. He likes to want to, he wants to be, Pharaoh. That's what Pharaoh was about on the outside. So you see, that's what it's about. That's the spirit. And they tell you, oh, that's a good spirit. That's mother wisdom. That's the fruits of the spirit. That's what Christ was talking about. That was the woman he was saying. Man, the one that washed his feet, Mary sat down. That don't even sound like him. Nah, it's the Mary that was finna get crucified. That was from some sins. That was cast out. That's the one. Not the one that came and washed his feet. That's the whore. That's what he was giving us to understand. But like I said, she blinded them with so many illusions of self, even in the New Testament of Christ, to put herself with she just gotta put herself, exalt herself in the picture when she knows she going straight down. She knows she the desert. She know what she doing. She wicked, and that's what's gonna happen to these women. And so you've been warned, and you know the truth now. That is, you are considered harlotry. You're a whore. You're a harlot. Okay? Not this. Not the one that stand up. Not the one that fight and rebel. Not the one a warrior spirit. Not the one that men had to fight because they could not take heed. That's not the one. That's the Jezebel. It is the one that I told y'all, and it's truthful. And when he said them words, knowing that them women behind, those are foolish women. And this was the calling of the wise women. This is the hour of the wise women. To take your place, to speak it, get it out, for the time is near. For these sisters to repent. Because it's sad. It's sad. But at some point, I just stopped even playing with my emotions with them. I'm just like, man, this is what they got to be of. This is what they like then. So just let them be that way. It's sad.
Over women. But this teaching of the harlot spirit exalted in man's heart leads to the debasement of women and a yoke on her neck. Let's go down to meet Ahab, king of Israel, which is in Samaria. Behold, he is on the vineyard of Naboth, whither he has gone down to possess it. So, what is promised in this next verse? Watch what it says. And thou shalt speak.
Which I have. Don't try to delete y'all channels and run away, because I know that's what y'all probably gonna try to do. Now, yeah. And if y'all do, then I'll just be right again. But y'all got many of videos from years and years with y'all tune. And I heard some men and some and even some women, they have propped up to go along with this. Has spoken and said this is what it is to be a woman. I have seen it. So after this word go forth, it shall not return void. So meaning this is what it is. This is the truth. Now if you do it from this moment on, that's on your choice, women. But you've been given the truth. That's the image. That's the truth of you being a harlot. You are. And that's what he's gonna always consider you in his mind. He has no respect for you. Because you never put the standard for him too. Okay? But you want to come and think you're gonna get in the kingdom from the ones that have suffered? No, your money, your big house, your car, your nothing or whatever you want help him build up in this little fist, that ain't going to matter. You went along with him persecuting sisters. You went along with him using the system against sisters, getting them caught up doing wickedness. You went along. So therefore, you will get your reward. So again, when you see these men on there that have already stated that that's what they view of Jezebel, now don't try to change it now. Now you done said it, you done spoke it's on there. So this is how they feel. They'll let you know the women behind this, which I already knew. Ain't nobody got to tell me, and I ain't got to see them to know. This is what it is. This is the truth. So that's how we determine standard. That's how we know what's going up, and that's when we know something ain't right in the balances. It's been thrown out. And this is what happened.
Unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, Hast thou killed and also taken possession? And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, in the place where dogs. There's an important word to look up, because you're going to understand the covenant of Baal and El-Berith very clearly. Go look the word dogs up. Licked the blood of Naboth, shall dogs lick thy blood, even thine. This is the promise. That the dogs that licked Naboth's blood was going to lick Ahab's and Jezebel's. And we're going to look the word dogs up to get a better understanding of the covenant. So, and Ahab said to Elijah, Hast thou found me, O mine enemy? And he answered, I have found thee, because thou hast sold thyself to work evil in the sight of the Lord. So he sold himself. What was it all about? What's this man-made law?
Exactly. So this soul right there when he hearkening to her, and he allowed her to go do that, and then that's he chose that pathway. That's it right there. That's it. But a woman, when we get in and we do things, see, we can come, we don't choose. We are of it. We just choose inside spiritual forms or which one we gonna be. And what we gonna stand on. And what it's gonna be for us and what we believe mind, body, soul, because we get life. That's the truth. Telling you.
Making money. Shedding violence. To keep making money.
That's all it was about.
To make women afraid to dare to ask for rights because, they're not gave from God. It's man that determines them. Oh no. We got this harlot Jezebel building a man up under the law to blame for how we did become eventually yoked by our husbands. You're right, you Jezebels out there. You better keep teaching your husband's laws. You better keep doing that. And the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, Arise, go down to meet Ahab, king of Israel, which is in Samaria. Behold, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, whither he is gone. And thou shalt speak unto him. And he says, the dogs will lick your blood and Jezebel's blood. And he says, Hast thou found me, O mine enemy? And he answered, I have found thee, because thou hast sold thyself to work in evil in the sight of the Lord. This is the building of man up with thick clay under the law. You look that verse up, you Google it, you put verse and say, Adam built himself up with thick clay, and it will pull the verse up for you. That means he built himself up with riches under the law. He stole hers from her by saying women aren't equal under the law. He steals what does not belong to him. It says he will be forced to vomit it up. That means the lies of the harlot spirit on his tongue as honey and tickles his ears, and his cobra's venom in his stomach. It is killing him. And it does. It does in this chapter. And of Jezebel also spake the Lord, saying, The dog shall eat Jezebel by the wall. Oh, we got the wall coming into play here. Why is the wall important? Well, that's going to come in the next few verses. Alright? Nope, not in the next few verses. We actually went by it. How did I miss that? It says, Behold, I will bring evil upon thee, and will take away thy posterity, and will cut off from Ahab him that pisseth, and it says pisseth, it's not me saying it, him that pisseth against the wall, saying, all your sons I'm going to cut off from you. That's the living God saying that. And she's going to cut his wicked sons off, along with Ahab, these men of Baal, who are exalted. Meaning of Jezebel, Baal exalts. Well, I think it's Baal exalted, because the harlot spirit gave Ahab exactly what he wanted, and threatened that the reason why Naboth had died was because he had blasphemed God and king. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! And she was a feminist! Look at that! But watch this. And she says, I'll cut off you, Ahab, and all of your sons, and him that is shut up and left in Israel. Now, this next verse is vital in understanding, because for anybody who is with me and understands the key of David, this takes us right back to the key of David and Baal. This all takes us right back. Verse 22. And I will make thy house like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha. I got to look into this one. Baasha, the son of Ahijah, for the provocation wherewith thou hast provoked me to anger, and made Israel to sin. And of Jezebel also spake the Lord, saying, the dog shall eat Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel. There's that wall. Him that dieth of Ahab in the city, the dogs shall eat, and him that dieth in the fields shall the fowls of the air eat. Now, let's discuss. First off, verse 22 here in 1 Kings 21, 22. And will make thine house like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat. Now, where does that take us to? Let's go to 1 Kings 11:27. Now, watch, it ends at verse 26 actually. So 1 Kings chapter 11 verse 26. And it's called Jeroboam's rebellion. Now, let us get our understanding straight on this. Now Jeroboam son of Nebat was an Ephraimite from Zeredah, whose mother was a widow named Zeruiah. Jeroboam was a servant of Solomon, but he rebelled against the king. Oh my gosh, right there we see why he was so wicked. He was rebelling against the king. No, his rebellion was a good thing, because he was actually stepping up for his mother, who was a widow woman, who actually possessed a house that Solomon had torn down, denying the women of Israel their rightful birthright, as it was known at the time. Now, watch what happens. Okay. And Jeroboam was a servant of Solomon, but he rebelled against the king. And this is the account of his rebellion. This is why he rebelled against King Solomon. Solomon had built the supporting terraces and repaired the gap in the wall. We got the gap in the wall. Oh my gosh, there's a hole. A bunch of holes in the wall. You know what those are called usually? Gates. That's what they're called. So he repaired the gates in the wall of the city of his father David. Now, this is what Jeroboam's house got torn down for, got completely destroyed, as spoken of in 1 Kings 22. This is the real reason. Now, Jeroboam was a mighty man of valor, so when Solomon noticed that the young man was industrious, he put him in charge of the whole labor force of the house of Joseph. You know what it's telling you he did? He bought off Jeroboam, so Jeroboam would shut up and let King Solomon do what he had purposed to do in his heart, which was to set up the harlot spirit that would teach his lies, which then becomes known as the flock in the midst, called Basra, whose portion is changed from a righteous spirit to a harlot spirit that would teach his lies. So he daubs up the gates. He tears down the houses of these righteous women who were the birthright holders because they held the law of truth in their mouth. And they were the ones that taught the sons the righteous laws of heaven that fed out to the nation of Israel, that kept them alive. And he tore these houses down, and it is explained to you in the book of Jeremiah in chapters, 6, 8, 9? And it says, you have healed the hurt of the daughter of my
and
people.
we all know
slightly.
that a woman
And then
builds
God
the
tells
nation.
Jeremiah to go call on the cunning women, the wise women, and to mourn for the houses that had cast them out. That's an allegory to the righteous spirit being cast out of her rightful place to dwell, known as the pleasant land. And what did man do? He divides it into two covenants found in Galatians 4 as two women. So, we still not getting it. Not only does this 1 Kings 22, where we're talking about the Jezebel spirit and Ahab Baal spirit, lead us here, this further takes us to Joseph's blessings in Isaiah 49. And what does it say? No, Genesis 49. What does it say if we're willing to actually study and do the hard reasoning and quit playing stupid and quit playing Jezebel's, the harlot Jezebel, to exalt him? What do we learn when we stop doing all of those things and stop being afraid of altering those words of Baal? Oh, we better be afraid of that instead of finding the truth. And when we determine that we're not going to be brainwashed by their lies anymore, but we're going to find the truth through hard study and through the Spirit's leading, guess what we find out? Joseph is a fruitful vine near a spring, whose branches daughters climbed over the wall. Why did they climb over the wall? I'll tell you why they had to climb over the wall. Because Solomon had daubed it up and tore their houses down. And what does it say? The archers. Who was Baal called? Archers. And that's the exact name here. The Baals attacked her with bitterness, and they aimed at her with hostility. Still believing the Jezebel spirit is a feminist? I don't see her as a feminist at all. You know what I see her as? I see her as one who did this. Coddled. Treat in an indulgent or overprotective way. She coddled her man of Baal is what she did. Oh, what a good little woman she was. And she was no feminist. Guess what she really turns out to be, playing a harlot? She really turns out to be a masculinist, is what she is. And this is a real term. Masculinism,
yeah, I looked into
or
it. She said
masculism,
I never heard
is
about
a counter movement to feminism that has functioned in Western countries since the 1980s. Masculinists identify themselves primarily, this is funny, primarily as men and as activists promoting the rights of men and fathers. Well, I can tell you something. You're not up against the righteous feminists demanding their equal law, their equal rights under God's laws. You're up against the harlot.
Exactly. Y'all
that
finna see how dangerous
that's who
them
they're
women
really
are.
up against.
Y'all thought that
They're not really up against the righteous feminine, which is what they want you to believe.
Exactly.
That feminism is all just
yes.
wicked. Every bit of it. Oh no. They need that Jezebel spirit, because that Jezebel spirit coddles them and teaches the world that he's God, because she does nothing but exalts him. That's what she does. She builds him up. she was not a feminist. I don't know how anybody can preach.
She could
that
also
she was a
exalt
feminist.
the masculism though too, because they can use her too.
We'll keep reading here
They use her too.
in 1 Kings
That's
21.
wait.
And we're going to look up the word dog. So, the house of Jeroboam come down. Alright, and this is the same one that went into Solomon and said, don't you dare tear my mother's house down. And stop their gates, plug up their gates and stop them from coming and going. So Solomon said, oh, but you know, you're so smart, I think I'm going to make you... Oh, he gave him power, he handed him over power. And so we bring him into play. Now the next verse it says, and of Jezebel also speaks the Lord, saying, the dogs shall eat Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel. The wall? Why the wall? Well, that's the same wall that got plugged up, forcing the righteous daughters to climb over the wall. They're called branches. Go look the word up. Come on, do your homework. Daughters. The daughters had to climb over the wall because those men of Baal were shooting at them saying, you don't have no rights. That's what they were saying. So Jezebel was not a feminist. She was a masculinist is what she was. She was busy building hubby up and coddling him and tickling his ears and feeding him honey. But it was poisoning him. It was bringing on his own death. Because he actually wanted to exalt himself. That's what he wanted to do.
That's what it's going to make him do.
And so, let's look the word dog up here. What does dog mean here? The dog that's going to lick our blood up? What's a dog? Hebrew 36:11. What's a dog? Oh, it's a masculine noun. What else does
that would be your cutthroat, I guess, lesbians,
from
ride or die.
unused root means to
That they do they harlots like that too. See, that's what I'm talking about. You got all those categories.
Is a male prostitute. A dog. Oh my gosh, what were they doing in Judges when Gideon went up against the men of
still
Baal?
a woman behind that.
Guess what they were doing? Because he had gotten the upper hand against these men of Baal, Gideon, because he was exalting the true God, which was found in who his covenant was with, which was with his righteous wife, the righteous spirit. That's what she's identified. And it says, on hearing this, okay, well, we'll start in 45. Judges 9, verse 45. And all that day, Abimelech fought against the city until he had captured and killed it and its people. Now, understand, Gideon is all part of all of this that's going on, all right? And so, then he demolished the city, and he sowed it with salt. Look at that, we've got the salt coming in. So the reason why they sow it with salt is that nothing will ever grow back. So salt does not preserve or condition us from wickedness. It's to stop it from growing back. And you can do it in a righteous land just as well as in a harlot land, a bad land. And you can do it, you can cut it both ways. And the interesting thing is, in the new world that's to come, that's promised us, there is no ocean with salt, and all of the salt actually is going to be drained out of the oceans. According to Ezekiel, is it 47 or 48? It says all the marshland, as the ocean starts to break down into rivers, is going to be cleansed by the salt being dumped into the marshland. That's what it states. And these rivers is going to flow, and it says wherever these non-salted waters flow because they've been cleansed, it says life will flourish wherever they go. So the interesting thing, I just thought we'd throw that in there, because people love to say they're the salt of the world. Well, according to the end, there will be no salt. And we know that when we get too much salt, it causes our waters to be bitter, and it also will kill a person. Too much salt will absolutely destroy us. Then he demolished the city and set it with salt. Verse 46. On hearing of this, all the leaders of the tower of Shechem entered the inner chamber of the temple of, guess what it says? El-Berith. Now, they don't want to tell you here, all right? You actually have to pull up this word to get El-Berith to come into view. And the word is, let me get it here, 1285. And it means a covenant, all right? It's Hebrew 1285, and it's berith, and noun feminine, a covenant. And when you scroll down, it's going to say allied, allies, a covenant, El-Berith, it'll say league and treaty. So these men were falling back in Judges to their stronghold. On hearing this, the citizens in the tower of Shechem went into the stronghold of the temple of El-Berith. The stronghold of Judah was daughter Zion. That's his stronghold, which would have been Gideon's stronghold. And that was the true living God who had the true power on this earth. And then became the outcast that no man sought after. He began to seek a covenant with these women of El-Berith, women like Jezebel, who would exalt a man and build him up as God and coddle him. That's what she did. She was as far removed from a feminist as you could get. And so, what does it say? On hearing this, the citizens in the tower of Shechem, actually it says the men, went into the stronghold of the temple of El-Berith. That's your harlot, building him up. And he went there to get her protection. Just much like you see Ahab relying on Jezebel for his protection. That's what you got. And then you see this harlot in Isaiah 47, and she saw to it that her ways would bring on the none seeing me aspect of the feminine. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it has perverted thee, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. So we know that the cutting away of the foreskin was a symbol that the man would not hearken after a covenant with the harlot spirit that would exalt him and the laws that he wanted exalted. It was a promise to Mother God when Abraham removed the foreskin that he would indeed exalt the righteous spirit and her laws. And so here we have our full understanding of what the Jezebel spirit was truly about. She was about playing man's harlot and exalting Baal, your husband, who wants to be your Lord and Master, who is shooting at the women who had to climb over the wall to their rightful birthright because the men of Baal were shooting at them and denying them their rightful place. And so now we understand, don't we? Just a little bit better, hopefully. And it's the same with Revelations. It's a continuation, and God is trying to point you into something. You are exalting yourself when you tolerate women that will teach and mislead my servants into sexual immorality. Exalting a man as God and saying that he has all the power over his wife will lead to sexual immorality every time.
Every time.
And furthermore, the eating of food sacrificed to idols. This began the building up of man as God. That's what we have today. Christ was sacrificed. Well, the first part of that was the Torah law that stated a bull must be sacrificed. It must be. And then they taught the eating of it. They did so. So this all leads us back to this original teaching that led, not the original teaching, but to the lie that caused our downfall and caused our world to be founded upon a religious lie. It's an absolute lie. That's what it is. Now, I want to talk about one other thing before I leave, and I know I was intense, and I was intense for a reason, because I am fed up of women turning on other women who are trying to study the word and get to the truth, and they can't stand it because hubby's whispering in their ear because they ain't got a brain of their own to go in and study. And I'm just so tired of these Jezebel videos,
They're gonna do a lot of it.
And from these harlots who's willing to exalt a man as God. You better go study the word if you truly believe in it. So, we have also this. I can't help but read this in so many comments. I'm getting so I read less and less. I'm so sick of the comments because nobody has the ability to reason anymore. But they'll say, abortion, 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 abortion. Can I tell you something? There's three main reasons why we have abortion so prevalent in the land. And until you are able to identify these three reasons, you will never take abortion out of the land. And you want to know the good reason why? Because these are rights given to fail under the law. And
y'all want to say how? When it's a woman killing her fetus. Like I stated in one of my videos, which is abortion. Is the law of the land. No, I said is the structure of God destroyed. I told my experience. I didn't myself wanted to do that. But the person, male, wanted. Gave the portion as the Most High states. But that's just my experience. But for some of these, mainly, that's behind pushing these women to kill it. Remember, we're under their structure, the man-beast system. Because we ever came to it, it's of a man. The beast system. That they create they create the laws, right? The law of land. It's illusion women do if you actually think that you're going to get any power inside of this cult of beasts. If you really think it was all about your will being put in their system way. Not the way of the true living God. So it makes sense. Because 9 times out of 10, so when y'all get up here trying to stir fear in these women emotions and make them feel like so wrong so they can keep out, man, no. And then I started to have to shut some of that stuff down because I started, when y'all see men coming up propping themselves, turn it off. Just turn it off. If it is not no man, most men don't even, you can find some of them that don't even have the image and due respect of their wives and different things, which I feel like that's more better in a certain sense or whatever. If you're not hearing no sound wisdom and all, some knowledge, some niceness, some positive when you go on that page and you know something not right, you need to cut it off. Because they're doing magic through the hexes. This was all technology for, to keep us under. I mean, this is part of it. And it will be sitting in your house and letting it get on you and stuff like that. So I have to even pay attention to be defensive of the spirit too as well. Not just because, it's not a gender thing with that spirit. But just be careful. Because like I said, they rule in fear. Because, they use the beginning of wisdom is to fear the Lord. Y'all took that wrong. No. Not no man. I'm not under or below. It was equality. So I don't know how y'all took that to be the mother telling y'all to tell your wives or tell people that or whatever, tell your wives that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Yeah, beginning of some, because we all said wisdom is the form of woman. That was giving you understand that, but when y'all found that part out, y'all start using wisdom against the woman and the fear. I'm your Lord. I'm your master. Fear me. That's basically, definitely what y'all did. I already know what y'all did. Y'all use wisdom, get it set, but y'all don't know. Y'all finna know the difference. Y'all finna understand how it's gonna come back sevenfold on you. And then this old saying that they say it's more women in the world than men. Well, if it's more women in the world than men, imagine all the women wake up on the planet. Do you think the physical form will win that war? If you got, they saying it's like, what, 20% more women on the earth than men. They tend to live a little longer than men. Now, these are their statistics that they play with because it's their system. But who knows? I don't know, but it seems like it's going to be a war. It's something that never happened before. And I think it's this. And I just hate for this stuff to get out of hand. But it's like, hopefully we can handle it good, though. Hopefully it could be a lot of reconciling, healing moments. Maybe it can be some better moments. I'm wishing for the positivity of this. But however, you got some that just won't let go. They got to be on the TV talking. They got to be every moment. They got to be. It's pitiful. It's pitiful.
Rights in order to get rid of the abortion problem that we have so prevalent in our nations. You're going to have to attack these 3 laws of right given to men. And you can say women all you want. The first one you need.
Yeah, because it makes them be able to get out their responsibility. They can keep telling you, oh, they're not ready for it. The system is created for women. Y'all gonna put us on top. That is the delusion they've been saying the whole time to us. They created it. So, no. What? To sacrifice to Baal, their gods, is homosexuality at its core. It's reprobate. This is what it is, okay? And it came from eating too much flesh. The gateway was the flesh to women. They get tired of women that went from this one, that one, then they start diving other stuff. Because they never had control over their bodies, didn't care. Or defilement. And go on with their life. That's what they do. And if you get pregnant, oh, you need to go get abortion, just that. And then you sitting there like, what done happened? This is what's going on. Because it favors them to get out what they need to get out. And if you have one, you're going to be left with it. So now it's even going to put you more because you're going off your love thinking that, oh my gosh, I got to go get the job, do this. So it's like, all the time they have wrapped you up. So that's the reality.
Need to get rid of is pornography. The second one you need to get rid of is prostitution. And the third one you need to get rid of is rape and pedophilia legalized under the law. When these cases are brought forth, what few have the nerve to bring them forth? 95% is it? I hadn't looked the number up. Walk free. Until you determine to attack these issues, you are always going to have the issue of abortion in your land. So you better get down to the heart of the real problems that are going on right now. And few people seem able to reason it out. They don't want nothing to do with reasoning today. It's flew the coop. It's gone. Well, you women of Jezebel, I hope you wake up. I don't know, maybe you can't wake up. Maybe it's impossible. But any study, if you study what the key of David is, and how it links back to actually the spirit of Jezebel and Ahab, I mean, you can play stupid. He can play stupid. You can play stupid. Go for it. I wouldn't want to be you. And that's what studying does. It'll lead you down the path of truth, not a lie. When you determine to say, look, I'm not listening to what you tell me it is. I'm going to go in and I'm going to do the hard study and I'm going to ask the Spirit of the Lord to lead me down the path of truth on this. And for anybody who says Jezebel was a feminist, oh my gosh, did you even read it? Did you even read it? I have to wonder. I mean, my gosh, you couldn't sound any dumber calling Jezebel a feminist. You couldn't be any dumber. And I was on that path. That's why I can get away with calling you stupid, because I was stupid. Until I just finally picked my head up and I said, Lord, there is something seriously wrong here. You are a God of love and of fairness and equity. Why do I feel so small? These are the reasons why. Until you are willing to go in and do the hard study and to change your thinking and realize how manipulated you have been, you will not open your eyes and you will not pick up your head. And God tells us that's precisely what the behemoth does. When Israel, the remnant, and we've discussed who they are finally working and pulling together in a manner that they ought to be doing, it says, no snare can ensnare her nose. They can't lock her in a barb, in a lie. And because she's wisdom. And it says she believes she can drink up the river Jordan. And it also links us back to Psalm 10 and that Lord picking her head up. Finally picking her head up. And realizing the power that she does have from God above. And until she recognizes that, God's going to leave her land. But once she realizes it, God's going to take possession of that land. And that means the Holy Spirit coming upon us in full. So, I know I got intense, and I feel intense about this. I have read Jezebel so much, I'm sick of it. And it's just a debasement. It's just a continued debasement of any woman who tries to understand the truth through any other means and through her husband's teachings. So, any of you watch my video, I thank you very kindly. Despite I may leave it as such, I may have to modify it, I may have to edit it, I did get really intense. I hope you're blessed with an abundance of truth and a willingness to open your eyes and to pick your head up. That's truly what I hope you are blessed with from the Holy Spirit. And so, again, I thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a really nice day.
Alright, guys, so we're done. It's 9:36 p.m. February the 6th, 2021 on the Gordon calendar. I thank y'all for tuning in to the 6-hour part. No, it's not 6 hours. Probably about I know the first one was like 2 hours and 53, and this one's like 2 hours and 47 minutes right now. So I thank y'all for tuning in. By the time that y'all get this, I should have some other things maybe in store for you guys. You know, if the Most High will, but I'm taking me like a little 2 weeks break. You know, I'm gonna do a final construction of going over my channel, make sure words are corrected, things are going there, everything's on accord for you guys. But I am gonna take me a small break, enjoy and rest with my family, and do some things of enjoying my daughter. And so I did this because I wanted to be ahead of the work and the things that I needed to put out for you guys that you should think about and meditate on, and give y'all some enlightenment, sisters, because you know we don't know, you know, how things gonna go. But for as anybody saying anything about me, I really don't care anymore. It's hard meat from this point on, and it's just get with it or not. And I will not be on anybody's channels, anybody besides the few ones that, like I said, I usually mainly, you know, support or whatever. And they too much don't have their faces up, you know. It's kind of just, you know, talking and different things. But I'm going to turn the comments off because I don't need the negativity, and I really don't care for these sites to keep coming up, or pornography or different girls. I don't know what it is, just to come in here and every time I post them, I don't know what's going on with my channel, but 1 or 2 comments, like every once in a while, you know, I got 1 or 2 nice ones, but it's been some when I clicked on it to a pastor that was preaching or something like that. It was weird, but it felt like I felt the spirit off that channel. I was like, oh no, they dealing with some stuff. And coming on my channel, putting a comment, oh no, don't do that. So I'm cutting all the pathways out for any of the harlots or any of these men or older, try to do anything. I'm not gonna give no room. So no more comments. They will be off. If it's anything y'all want to ask me, brothers and sisters, go to my email. But sisters, I'm here now as a comforter. Y'all can come watch my things. I will put a meditation, make a created meditation thing. Probably have some other people y'all can go see too. Or I'm gonna learn how to do those, to create my own meditation and things. You know, be patient with me as I build mine up, but I'm really just not dedicated to everything, you know, far as, you know, just I like to keep it simple and original. Honestly, I really do, with just my basic pictographs and basic, you know, art of using y'all's and different things, because I do not draw graven images. I'm not an artist, none of that. Probably a poetic soul and words and stuff, can write and different things when I choose to, but I'm not an artist. I don't draw anything. I don't have that ability, never did. Just not really something I like to do. I'm glad they didn't, because it probably would be making graven images everywhere like a lot of these artists do. But I'm saying, you know, it's just all about, I guess, what's been given and how you use it. But I thank y'all for tuning in, and once y'all get this, I'm excited to put this out. I hope y'all view it. I hope y'all think about it. I hope it start changing some minds, some get some heart circumcision. And like I said, accept the water baptism. If they're not baptizing souls and they ain't getting people to repent, and they're not teaching it in the guidance and sound wisdom and this whole truth, they're false. Don't believe the lies. But if you want to, that's on you. Is what it is. But I hope to see y'all soon. I thank y'all for tuning in to Shia Wisdom channel today. And y'all have a restful Sabbath. The rest of the little probably hour or so we got. But I thank y'all so much for being patient and just listening to some of the spokesmen tonight and their good little messages that they sent. Some profound revelation. So I thank them, and I thank you guys for watching, and I will see you soon.